The conference room felt colder than usual that Tuesday morning in downtown Chicago, the October wind rattling the floor-to-ceiling windows of Morrison and Associates marketing agency. Sarah Martinez adjusted her blazer nervously as she arranged the presentation materials, her hands trembling slightly from both the autumn chill and anticipation. She had spent weeks preparing for this moment, researching every detail about Pinnacle Industries' marketing needs, crafting innovative strategies that could revolutionize their brand presence. The 23rd floor office overlooked the bustling streets where commuters hurried through the crisp morning air, their breath visible in small clouds as they navigated the concrete jungle of downtown Chicago. The skyline stretched endlessly before her, with the Willis Tower dominating the horizon and Lake Michigan shimmering in the distance under the pale morning sunlight. But as the clock ticked toward 9 a.m., she couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to go terribly wrong. The mahogany table gleamed under the fluorescent lights as Sarah double-checked the portfolio folders, each containing months of her meticulous work. Her boss, Victoria Sterling, swept into the room with her usual commanding presence, barely acknowledging Sarah's presence as she positioned herself at the head of the table. Victoria's designer heels clicked against the polished floor, echoing through the spacious room that overlooked the bustling Michigan Avenue below. At 45 years old, Victoria had built her reputation on taking credit for other people's work, while maintaining a facade of executive competence that fooled most clients during initial meetings. Her perfectly styled blonde hair and expensive wardrobe projected success, but Sarah had learned to recognize the insecurity behind Victoria's aggressive management style. She carried herself with the artificial confidence of someone who had climbed the corporate ladder through manipulation rather than merit, using intimidation and credit stealing to maintain her position. The city's morning rush hour created a distant hum of activity, with car horns and sirens providing a constant urban soundtrack. But inside this corporate sanctuary, tension was building to an uncomfortable crescendo that would change everything for both women. Before we continue with this incredible story of workplace betrayal and ultimate triumph, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell, because we're giving away a brand new motorcycle to one lucky subscriber who likes this video, subscribes, and comments below telling us where you're watching from. Don't miss your chance to win this amazing prize while hearing how Sarah turned her biggest humiliation into her greatest victory. James Pinnacle arrived precisely at 9 a.m., accompanied by his executive team of 3 impeccably dressed professionals who carried themselves with the confidence of industry leaders. Sarah had studied their backgrounds extensively, knowing that Pinnacle Industries was worth $12 million annually and represented the kind of client that could make or break careers at Morrison and Associates. James himself was a formidable figure in his late 50s, with silver hair and penetrating blue eyes that seemed to assess everything with calculating precision. His reputation for demanding excellence was legendary in Chicago's business circles, and landing his account would mean prestige, substantial commissions, and career advancement for whoever succeeded. His executive team included Maria Rodriguez, the chief marketing officer who had revolutionized 3 major brands in the past decade, bringing innovative digital strategies that increased market share by unprecedented percentages. Thomas Chen, the director of digital strategy, commanded respect throughout the industry for his ability to predict and capitalize on emerging social media trends before competitors even recognized their potential. Jennifer Walsh, the vice president of operations, possessed an analytical mind that could dissect marketing proposals with surgical precision, identifying weaknesses and opportunities that others overlooked completely. The Pinnacle team's presence filled the room with professional energy that contrasted sharply with Victoria's nervous energy. Sarah noticed how they moved with purpose, each carrying leather portfolios that contained detailed questions and evaluation criteria for potential marketing partners. James wore a charcoal gray suit that spoke of understated wealth, while his team dressed in coordinated professional attire that projected competence without ostentation. Their punctuality and preparation suggested this meeting was critically important to their company's future direction, making the stakes even higher for Morrison and Associates to deliver a compelling presentation that would secure this lucrative partnership. Victoria immediately took control of the meeting, her voice smooth and professional as she welcomed the Pinnacle team with practiced corporate charm. Sarah sat quietly to the side, having been instructed to remain silent unless specifically asked to contribute to the discussion. The presentation began with Victoria outlining Morrison & Associates' impressive client portfolio, highlighting successful campaigns and measurable results that painted the agency in the most favorable light possible. Sarah watched as her own research and strategic insights were presented as Victoria's original work, feeling her stomach not with frustration, but maintaining her professional composure throughout the increasingly uncomfortable situation. She had spent countless evenings in her small apartment, analyzing market trends and consumer behavior patterns that Victoria was now claiming as her own innovative thinking, complete with detailed explanations that Sarah had originally written in comprehensive reports. The irony wasn't lost on Sarah that her boss's most compelling arguments were actually direct quotes from reports Sarah had written during weekend research sessions, fueled by coffee and determination to understand modern marketing dynamics. Victoria spoke confidently about social media engagement strategies, influencer marketing trends, and demographic targeting techniques, all concepts that Sarah had researched extensively and explained in detailed memos that Victoria had apparently memorized without attribution. The presentation materials themselves contained graphs and analytics that Sarah had compiled from hours of data analysis, transformed into professional slides that made Victoria appear knowledgeable about contemporary marketing challenges facing companies like Pinnacle Industries. 20 minutes into the presentation, James Pinnacle asked a specific question about demographic targeting strategies for their upcoming product launch in the Millennial and Generation Z markets. His question was precise and technical, requiring detailed knowledge about digital marketing platforms, consumer behavior analytics, and cross-platform integration strategies that could maximize reach while maintaining cost efficiency. Sarah's heart raced because she knew the answer intimately, having spent countless hours analyzing market data and consumer behavior patterns specifically related to younger demographics. Victoria stumbled slightly, clearly unprepared for such detailed inquiries, and her confident demeanor began showing cracks as she struggled to provide substantive answers beyond superficial marketing buzzwords. The room's atmosphere shifted as the Pinnacle team exchanged glances, obviously noting Victoria's hesitation and lack of specific knowledge about their industry challenges. Maria Rodriguez leaned forward, asking follow-up questions about social media engagement strategies and influencer partnership metrics that Victoria couldn't answer with any meaningful specificity or practical implementation details. Thomas Chun inquired about digital advertising budget allocations across various platforms, seeking detailed cost per acquisition projections and return on investment calculations that would justify marketing expenditures. Victoria's responses became increasingly vague and generic, relying on corporate speak rather than concrete data or proven methodologies that demonstrated real expertise in modern marketing approaches. Jennifer Walsh pressed further, asking about measurement methodologies and analytics frameworks that would track campaign effectiveness across multiple touchpoints and customer journey stages. Victoria's lack of preparation became painfully obvious as she fumbled through generic responses that revealed her fundamental misunderstanding of contemporary marketing measurement techniques. Sarah watched this professional disaster unfold, knowing she could provide detailed, specific answers to every question being asked, complete with case studies, statistical models, and implementation timelines that would impress even these sophisticated business leaders. That's when it happened. James looked directly at Sarah, who had been taking detailed notes throughout the meeting, and asked if she had any insights to contribute to the discussion about their demographic targeting challenges. Sarah felt her pulse quicken as she prepared to share the comprehensive research she had conducted, knowing she could provide specific answers to every question the Pinnacle team had raised, complete with actionable recommendations and measurable success metrics. Before Sarah could respond, Victoria's voice cut through the air with shocking callousness that would forever change the trajectory of both their careers. "Oh, don't worry about her input, James. Sarah is just support staff. She handles filing and basic administrative tasks. The real strategic work comes from our senior executives like myself. She wouldn't understand the complexities of high-level marketing strategy that your company requires. I'm sure you understand that we need to focus on executive-level perspectives rather than getting distracted by administrative personnel who lack the sophisticated understanding necessary for your marketing challenges." The words hit Sarah like a physical blow, and she felt her cheeks burn with humiliation as the entire Pinnacle team turned to look at her with what appeared to be sympathy mixed with surprise and obvious discomfort at Victoria's unprofessional behavior. The silence that followed was deafening, with only the distant sounds of Chicago traffic penetrating the heavy atmosphere of awkwardness that had settled over the conference room like a suffocating blanket. Sarah's mind reeled from the public dismissal, but she maintained her composure despite feeling crushed by her boss's betrayal in front of these important potential clients. She had always known Victoria could be ruthless and credit-stealing, but this level of professional disrespect in front of such important clients crossed every boundary of basic human decency and workplace professionalism. The Pinnacle team seemed genuinely uncomfortable with Victoria's harsh treatment of her colleague, with James himself appearing particularly disturbed by what he had witnessed. Maria Rodriguez actually winced at Victoria's words, while Thomas Chan and Jennifer Walsh exchanged meaningful glances that suggested they were re-evaluating their perception of Morrison and Associates based on this display of workplace toxicity and poor leadership practices. The remainder of the meeting proceeded awkwardly, with Victoria struggling to answer increasingly technical questions while Sarah sat silently, her mind racing with anger and determination to prove her worth beyond this humiliating moment. James began asking more pointed questions about campaign measurement and analytics, areas where Victoria's knowledge was particularly shallow and her responses became defensive rather than informative. The Pinnacle team's questions became more challenging as they sensed Victoria's limitations, testing her understanding of conversion tracking, attribution modeling, and customer lifetime value calculations that formed the foundation of effective marketing strategy implementation. Victoria's desperation became increasingly apparent as she attempted to deflect technical questions with corporate jargon and promises of detailed follow-up reports that she obviously couldn't produce independently. Her credibility crumbled further with each evasive answer, while the Pinnacle team's professional disappointment became palpable throughout the remaining 30 minutes of what should have been a triumphant business presentation. After the Pinnacle team left, promising to consider their options rather than committing to any contracts, Victoria barely spoke to Sarah beyond curt instructions about cleaning up the conference room. The subtle body language and diplomatic phrases used by James and his team made it clear that Morrison and Associates was unlikely to secure this lucrative account that could have transformed the agency's financial position and industry reputation. The office's usual bustling energy felt oppressive as Sarah returned to her desk, surrounded by colleagues who had undoubtedly heard about the morning's humiliation through the company's efficient gossip network that spread information faster than official communications. Her cubicle felt smaller than usual as she processed the emotional impact of being dismissed so publicly and cruelly in front of respected business leaders who now viewed Morrison and Associates as a company that mistreated talented employees. She spent the rest of the day mechanically completing her assigned tasks, responding to emails and organizing files while her mind was formulating a plan that would change everything. She had worked too hard and learned too much to accept being dismissed as merely support staff, when she knew her capabilities far exceeded Victoria's assumptions about her potential and value to any marketing organization. That evening, Sarah worked late in her small Lincoln Park apartment, surrounded by industry magazines, market research reports, and her laptop displaying detailed analytics about Pinnacle Industries that she had compiled over weeks of dedicated research. The rain pattered against her windows as she crafted what would become the most important business proposal of her career, driven by a combination of professional ambition and personal vindication that fueled her determination to succeed independently. Her one-bedroom apartment had been transformed into a makeshift research center, with whiteboards covered in demographic data, competitor analysis charts, and strategic timelines that demonstrated the depth of her knowledge about modern marketing dynamics and consumer behavior patterns. She analyzed competitor strategies with forensic detail, identifying market gaps that Pinnacle could exploit through innovative positioning and targeted messaging that would differentiate them from established players in their industry sector. Her research revealed specific opportunities for brand expansion, customer acquisition, and market penetration that addressed the exact challenges James and his team had mentioned during their visit to Morrison and Associates. She developed innovative approaches that addressed specific challenges their company faced, drawing from her background in communications from Northwestern University, combined with 2 years of absorbing knowledge at Morrison and Associates while being systematically undervalued and overlooked for advancement opportunities. Her background in communications from Northwestern University, where she had graduated magna cum laude with specialized coursework in consumer psychology and digital marketing, combined with 2 years of absorbing knowledge at Morrison and Associates, had given her insights that even Victoria lacked despite her senior position and inflated salary. Sarah's academic foundation included advanced studies in statistical analysis, consumer behavior modeling, and cross-cultural marketing that provided theoretical frameworks for practical application in contemporary business environments. Sarah's research revealed that Pinnacle Industries was struggling with Millennial and Generation Z market penetration, despite their products being perfectly suited for younger demographics who valued authenticity, sustainability, and social responsibility in their purchasing decisions. She developed a comprehensive digital marketing strategy that incorporated social media influencer partnerships, targeted advertising campaigns, community engagement initiatives, and viral content creation that could capture younger consumers' attention spans while building long-term brand loyalty. Her proposal included detailed budget projections showing how to maximize return on investment across multiple platforms, timeline implementations that accounted for seasonal marketing cycles and consumer behavior patterns, and measurable success metrics that demonstrated her thorough understanding of modern marketing principles and best practices. She researched specific influencers whose audiences aligned with Pinnacle's target demographics, calculated engagement rates and conversion potentials based on historical performance data, and created detailed content calendars that would maintain brand consistency while appealing to different generational preferences and communication styles. Her analysis included micro-influencer strategies that could provide higher engagement rates at lower costs, celebrity partnership opportunities that could generate mainstream media attention, and user-generated content campaigns that would encourage organic brand advocacy among satisfied customers. Sarah worked until 3 a.m., fueled by determination and the burning desire to prove her worth beyond Victoria's narrow-minded perception of her capabilities and potential contribution to high-level marketing strategy. Her comprehensive proposal included competitive analysis, market positioning recommendations, creative concepts for campaign execution, and detailed measurement frameworks that would track success across multiple key performance indicators. The next morning, Sarah made a decision that terrified and exhilarated her simultaneously, representing a pivotal moment that would define her professional future. Instead of submitting her ideas through Morrison & Associates hierarchy, she decided to contact James Pinnacle directly, bypassing traditional protocols to pursue an opportunity that could change her career trajectory completely. She had memorized his business card information during yesterday's meeting and crafted a professional email that was respectful yet confident, striking a balance between deference and self-assurance that would capture his attention without appearing presumptuous. Her message explained that she had developed additional strategies that might interest Pinnacle Industries, strategies that hadn't been covered in the previous presentation due to time constraints and meeting dynamics that had prevented full exploration of available options. She emphasized that her ideas were independent of her current employer and represented her personal professional capabilities developed through extensive research and analysis conducted on her own time. She requested a brief meeting to present concepts that could address the specific challenges his team had mentioned during their visit to Morrison & Associates, challenges that required innovative solutions beyond traditional marketing approaches. Sarah wrote and rewrote the email 17 times, ensuring every word conveyed professionalism while demonstrating initiative and confidence without appearing disrespectful toward established business relationships. Her final version struck the perfect tone, acknowledging the unconventional nature of her approach while emphasizing the potential value of her independent perspective on Pinnacle's marketing challenges. James Pinnacle responded within 2 hours, expressing intrigue about her initiative and agreeing to meet at a neutral location away from corporate environments where their conversation could proceed without interruption or political complications. His response was warmer than she had expected, mentioning that he had been impressed by her attentiveness during the previous meeting and was curious to hear her perspectives on the marketing challenges his company faced. He also expressed regret about the way Victoria had treated her during the presentation, suggesting that talent recognition was important to him regardless of job titles or organizational hierarchies. They arranged to meet at the Palmer House Hotel's elegant lobby restaurant, a historic venue that provided sophistication and privacy for business discussions. The Palmer House represented Chicago's business heritage, with ornate architecture and professional atmosphere that would convey the importance of their meeting while maintaining discretion about their unconventional business arrangement. Sarah chose her outfit carefully, selecting a navy blue dress that projected professionalism without being overly formal, paired with accessories that conveyed competence and attention to detail without appearing presumptuous about her status or expectations. She arrived 15 minutes early, reviewing her notes one final time while observing the historic hotel's magnificent architecture and the steady flow of business professionals conducting meetings throughout the grand space. The Palmer House's ornate ceiling and elegant furnishings created an atmosphere of importance that matched the significance of this meeting for Sarah's career trajectory and professional future. The lobby bustled with activity as business leaders, tourists, and hotel staff moved through the space with purpose, creating an environment where their meeting would appear natural and unremarkable. Sarah positioned herself at a table that provided privacy while allowing her to observe the entrance for James's arrival, using the time to review her presentation materials and mentally rehearse key points that would demonstrate her value as an independent marketing consultant. James arrived punctually, appearing genuinely curious about what Sarah had to offer and displaying the same professional demeanor that had impressed her during the corporate meeting. His demeanor was significantly warmer than during the corporate meeting, and he apologized immediately for Victoria's inappropriate behavior, explaining that such treatment of employees was something he found personally offensive based on his own management philosophy and company values. He mentioned that his company prided itself on recognizing talent regardless of job titles or hierarchical positions, and Victoria's dismissive attitude had raised red flags about Morrison & Associates' company culture and leadership practices. Sarah thanked him for his consideration but quickly redirected the conversation toward her business proposal, wanting to demonstrate professionalism and focus on value creation rather than dwelling on past grievances. She presented her research findings with confidence, explaining market opportunities that Pinnacle Industries could capture with the right strategic approach and implementation timeline. Her presentation was thorough, professional, and demonstrated knowledge that clearly impressed the experienced businessman who had seen countless marketing pitches throughout his career in various industries and market conditions. As Sarah outlined her comprehensive marketing strategy, James began asking increasingly detailed questions that revealed his growing interest in her proposals and his recognition that she possessed sophisticated understanding of contemporary marketing challenges. She had anticipated most of his concerns and provided well-researched answers that demonstrated her thorough preparation and deep understanding of his company's specific challenges within their competitive landscape. Her digital marketing approach addressed specific pain points that Pinnacle Industries had been struggling with for months, including their difficulty connecting with younger consumers despite having products that perfectly matched generational preferences and values related to sustainability and social responsibility. Her budget projections showed realistic expectations rather than inflated promises, with detailed breakdowns of how marketing dollars would be allocated across different platforms and campaigns to maximize return on investment. Sarah presented case studies from similar companies that had successfully implemented comparable strategies, showing measurable results that validated her proposed approaches and demonstrated practical application of theoretical frameworks. She included specific examples of campaign execution, timeline management, and performance optimization that proved her understanding extended beyond conceptual knowledge to practical implementation capabilities. James found himself impressed not only by her strategic thinking, but by her professionalism and initiative in pursuing this unconventional meeting despite potential career risks. Her presentation included detailed personas of Pinnacle's target demographics, complete with psychographic profiles, purchasing behaviors, and preferred communication channels that would maximize marketing effectiveness and campaign reach across multiple touchpoints in the customer journey. During their discussion, Sarah revealed insights about Pinnacle's competitors that demonstrated research far beyond what Victoria had presented during the official meeting. She had analyzed competing brands' social media strategies, identified gaps in their market coverage, and developed approaches that could position Pinnacle Industries as innovative leaders rather than followers in their industry sector. Her understanding of consumer psychology and behavioral marketing showed sophistication that impressed James, who realized this young woman possessed strategic thinking capabilities that exceeded those of many senior executives he had encountered throughout his business career. Sarah's presentation included detailed analysis of competitor weaknesses, market opportunities, and strategic positioning that could give Pinnacle sustainable competitive advantages in their target markets. She demonstrated understanding of industry trends, regulatory considerations, and technological developments that would impact marketing effectiveness over the next several years, showing strategic vision that extended beyond immediate campaign goals to long-term brand building and market leadership. Near the end of their 2-hour discussion, James made an offer that would change Sarah's life completely and validate her professional capabilities in ways she had never imagined possible. Pinnacle Industries was looking for a marketing consultant who could implement the strategies she had presented, and he was prepared to offer her a 6-month contract worth $80,000 to develop and execute her proposed campaigns with full creative control and strategic authority. The contract would be independent of Morrison and Associates, allowing Sarah to establish her own consulting business while working directly with Pinnacle's executive team as a valued strategic partner rather than a subordinate vendor. The offer included performance bonuses that could potentially double her compensation if the campaigns achieved their projected success metrics, with specific benchmarks tied to engagement rates, conversion percentages, and overall revenue growth that would reward exceptional performance. James explained that his company valued results over traditional credentials, and Sarah's presentation had convinced him that she could deliver the innovative marketing approaches Pinnacle Industries needed to capture younger market segments and achieve sustained growth in competitive markets. Additional contract benefits included office space, administrative support, access to company resources, and direct reporting relationships with senior executives that would position her as a strategic consultant rather than external vendor. The arrangement would provide Sarah with professional credibility, resources necessary for campaign implementation, and networking opportunities that could establish her reputation throughout Chicago's business community. Sarah felt her heart racing as she processed the magnitude of James' offer and its implications for her professional future and personal financial security. $80,000 represented more money than she had ever seen, considering her current salary at Morrison & Associates was barely $35,000 annually with minimal benefits and no real advancement opportunities despite her obvious capabilities and contributions. The opportunity to work independently on high-level marketing strategies was exactly the career advancement she had dreamed about during those long evenings studying industry trends and developing her skills while being systematically undervalued by Victoria and the Morrison & Associates leadership structure. However, accepting the contract would mean leaving Morrison & Associates and burning bridges with Victoria, who would undoubtedly view Sarah's independent success as betrayal and potentially spread negative information throughout Chicago's tight-knit business community, where professional reputations could be damaged by vindictive former employers. The decision required careful consideration of both immediate benefits and long-term career implications, including potential challenges of establishing independent credibility and building a sustainable consulting practice without institutional support or established client relationships. But Sarah realized this opportunity might never come again, and her potential for growth under Victoria's leadership was essentially non-existent given the toxic dynamics and credit-stealing behavior she had experienced consistently. She thought about her student loans, her cramped apartment, and her dreams of professional recognition that seemed impossible under Victoria's oppressive management style that systematically undermined talented employees to maintain her own position and ego. After discussing contract details and implementation timelines extensively, Sarah accepted James' offer with a firm handshake and genuine gratitude for his confidence in her abilities and potential for success. They agreed that she would submit her resignation to Morrison & Associates within 2 weeks, allowing her to transition existing projects responsibly while beginning preliminary work on Pinnacle's marketing campaigns. James provided her with direct contact information for his executive team and scheduled their first official strategy meeting for the following month, where she would present detailed implementation plans and campaign timelines. He also mentioned that Pinnacle Industries would provide her with office space and administrative support during the contract period, treating her as a valued consultant rather than an external vendor with limited access and authority. Sarah left the Palmer House Hotel feeling simultaneously nervous and exhilarated about the dramatic turn her career had taken, walking through downtown Chicago with a new sense of purpose and possibility that contrasted sharply with the despair she had felt just days earlier. The following Monday morning, Sarah walked into Morrison & Associates with a resignation letter in her briefcase and a confidence she had never possessed before in professional settings. The familiar office environment looked different through her new perspective, smaller and more oppressive than she had previously realized during her 2 years of employment under Victoria's toxic leadership. Victoria was in her office reviewing quarterly reports when Sarah knocked on the door, requesting a private meeting to discuss her employment status and future plans. Victoria barely looked up from her paperwork, clearly expecting another routine administrative discussion or possibly an apology for some imagined shortcoming that existed only in Victoria's mind. Sarah sat across from her former boss, observing the woman who had humiliated her just days earlier, and felt a sense of poetic justice about what was going to happen next. The power dynamic in the room was about to shift dramatically, though Victoria remained oblivious to the coming revelation that would expose her professional limitations and vindicate Sarah's capabilities. Sarah placed her resignation letter on Victoria's desk and explained that she had accepted an independent consulting position that would begin within 2 weeks, allowing for proper transition of her current responsibilities. Victoria's expression shifted from disinterest to confusion as she read the formal resignation, clearly not understanding why her support staff would be leaving for another opportunity when she had assumed Sarah was grateful for any employment at all despite the poor treatment and lack of advancement opportunities. When Sarah mentioned that her new client was Pinnacle Industries, Victoria's face went pale as she realized the implications of what had happened and the professional consequences of her dismissive behavior during the crucial client meeting. Her filing clerk had somehow secured the contract that Morrison and Associates had failed to win, the very contract that would have significantly boosted the company's revenue and Victoria's personal reputation within the industry. The silence stretched awkwardly as Victoria processed this information, her usual commanding presence crumbling as she realized her dismissive treatment had cost the company a valuable opportunity and exposed her own professional limitations to important business leaders. Victoria's reaction was a mixture of anger, disbelief, and professional panic as she realized that her dismissive treatment of Sarah had cost the company a valuable client and revealed her own limitations as a strategic thinker to the broader business community. She demanded to know how Sarah had contacted Pinnacle Industries independently, accusing her of violating company policies and stealing proprietary information that belonged to Morrison and Associates through her employment agreement. Victoria's voice rose as she threatened legal action, claiming that Sarah had breached confidentiality agreements and engaged in unethical business practices that could result in litigation and professional consequences. Sarah calmly explained that her strategies were original work developed on her own time using publicly available information, and her contact with James Pinnacle had been initiated through publicly available business information rather than confidential company resources or client data. She had been careful to document her independent research and could prove that her proposals contained no proprietary Morrison and Associates information or client data that would violate her employment agreement or professional ethics standards. The conversation became increasingly heated as Victoria realized she had no legal grounds to prevent Sarah's departure or her independent consulting work, despite her threats and accusations of professional misconduct. Sarah remained professional throughout Victoria's accusations and threats, knowing that her former boss's anger stemmed from recognizing her own professional shortcomings and the consequences of her toxic management style that had systematically undermined talented employees. Victoria began making personal attacks, questioning Sarah's qualifications and predicting failure for her consulting venture. But Sarah refused to engage in unprofessional behavior despite the obvious provocation and attempts to provoke an emotional response. The other employees in the office could hear raised voices coming from Victoria's office, and word quickly spread that something significant was happening between the boss and her formerly quiet assistant who had always maintained professional composure despite obvious mistreatment. Several colleagues gathered near the office, pretending to work while obviously listening to the confrontation that was reshaping office dynamics and challenging established power structures within the organization. Sarah's last day at Morrison and Associates was surreal as colleagues who had previously barely acknowledged her existence suddenly showed interest in her future plans and expressed opinions about Victoria's leadership style. Some expressed genuine support and admiration for her courage in pursuing independent opportunities, while others seemed motivated by curiosity about the dramatic confrontation with Victoria and its implications for office politics. She maintained discretion about her new consulting arrangement, simply explaining that she had found an opportunity that better matched her career goals and professional aspirations without providing details that could be used against her. Victoria avoided her completely during the final week, clearly still processing the reality that her support staff had outmaneuvered her in securing a major client and would likely earn more money in 6 months than Victoria made annually despite her senior position and years of experience. Sarah cleaned out her desk efficiently, taking only personal items and leaving behind all company materials to avoid any accusations of impropriety or theft of company property. Her departure felt like emerging from a tunnel into sunlight, leaving behind the toxic environment that had stifled her potential for 2 years while building skills and knowledge that would serve her well in independent practice. 3 months into her consulting contract with Pinnacle Industries, Sarah's marketing campaigns were exceeding all projected success metrics by substantial margins that impressed even veteran marketing professionals. Her social media strategies had increased their brand engagement by 300%, with viral content reaching demographics that had previously ignored Pinnacle's products completely despite their relevance and value. Her influencer partnerships had generated substantial sales increases among younger demographics, with conversion rates that impressed even Thomas Chen, who had initially been skeptical about unconventional marketing approaches that deviated from traditional advertising methods. The company's Instagram following had grown from 15,000 to over 200,000 engaged followers who actively participated in branded content campaigns, while their TikTok presence had exploded from 0 to nearly 500,000 followers who actively shared and commented on branded content that showcased product benefits and company values. Her LinkedIn strategy had positioned company executives as thought leaders in their industry, generating B2B opportunities and partnership inquiries that exceeded expectations for professional networking and business development. James Pinnacle was so impressed with her results and strategic thinking that he offered her a permanent position as marketing director, with a salary that tripled what she had been earning at Morrison & Associates plus equity participation in the company's growth that could provide substantial long-term financial benefits. The offer included comprehensive benefits, retirement planning, and professional development opportunities that demonstrated the company's commitment to her continued success and growth within their organization. The success of her campaigns had also attracted attention from other companies seeking similar marketing expertise and innovative approaches to reaching younger consumers who required authentic engagement rather than traditional advertising methods. Sarah began receiving calls from executives at major corporations who had heard about her work through industry networks and wanted to discuss potential consulting arrangements that could provide additional income and professional recognition. Her professional reputation grew stronger with each successful campaign, and she found herself being invited to speak at marketing conferences and industry events where she shared insights about generational marketing and digital strategy implementation. Her former colleagues at Morrison & Associates occasionally reached out, sharing gossip about Victoria's continued struggles to replace the Pinnacle contract and her increasing desperation as other clients began questioning her strategic capabilities and leadership effectiveness after word spread about the circumstances surrounding Sarah's departure. Several talented employees had also left the agency after witnessing Victoria's treatment of Sarah and recognizing the toxic environment that prevented professional growth and recognition. Sarah established her own marketing consultancy after completing her initial contract with Pinnacle Industries, building a client base that included several major corporations who had heard about her innovative approaches and measurable results that exceeded industry standards. Her company, Martinez Strategic Marketing, occupied a modern office space in downtown Chicago with a team of talented professionals who shared her commitment to ethical business practices and employee development that fostered creativity and innovation. She made a point of treating her employees with respect and recognition, having experienced firsthand how destructive workplace humiliation could be to morale and productivity among talented professionals. Her management style emphasized collaboration over hierarchy, and she actively sought input from team members regardless of their job titles or experience levels. Recognizing that good ideas could come from anyone with passion and insight, the transformation from dismissed support staff to successful entrepreneur taught Sarah valuable lessons about recognizing her own worth and the importance of taking calculated risks when opportunities arise that could change life trajectories. Her experience with Victoria's humiliating treatment had been painful, but it ultimately provided the motivation she needed to pursue her true potential rather than accepting limitations others tried to impose on her based on prejudice and insecurity. She learned that sometimes the people who underestimate us provide the greatest catalyst for our eventual success, even when their intentions are harmful rather than helpful to our professional development. Sarah also discovered that authentic leadership meant empowering others rather than diminishing them, a lesson she applied daily in managing her growing team of marketing professionals who appreciated working in an environment that valued contribution over hierarchy. Her company culture emphasized innovation, collaboration, and recognition of individual talents that contributed to collective success and client satisfaction. Looking back on that October morning when Victoria called her just support staff in front of important clients, Sarah realized it was the best thing that could have happened to her career trajectory and personal growth. The humiliation had forced her to evaluate her own capabilities objectively and pursue opportunities that aligned with her actual skills, rather than the diminished role others had assigned to her based on prejudice and insecurity about their own limitations. Her success story became an inspiration to other young professionals who felt undervalued in their current positions, demonstrating that talent and determination could overcome institutional barriers and workplace discrimination that prevented recognition and advancement. Sarah began mentoring other young professionals who faced similar challenges, sharing strategies for building confidence and pursuing advancement despite toxic work environments that systematically undermine talent. She created informal networking groups and professional development workshops that helped others recognize their own value and pursue opportunities that matched their capabilities, rather than accepting limitations imposed by insecure supervisors. Within 18 months of leaving Morrison & Associates, Sarah's consulting firm had grown to employ 15 people and was generating over $2 million in annual revenue through contracts with Fortune 500 companies and innovative startups. Her client portfolio included Fortune 500 companies, innovative startups, and established brands seeking to modernize their marketing approaches for changing consumer preferences and technological developments. She maintained high standards for treating employees with respect and recognition, having experienced firsthand how destructive workplace humiliation could be to morale and productivity among talented professionals. Her former boss Victoria eventually left Morrison & Associates after losing several major clients and facing questions about her leadership capabilities from senior management who recognized the pattern of talented employee departures under her supervision. Meanwhile, Sarah's business continued growing through referrals and reputation for delivering exceptional results that exceeded client expectations consistently while maintaining ethical business practices and employee satisfaction. Today, Sarah's success serves as proof that talent and determination can overcome workplace toxicity and professional discrimination that prevents recognition and advancement. Her story demonstrates the importance of recognizing our own value even when others try to diminish our contributions and potential based on their own insecurities and limitations. The motorcycle giveaway mentioned earlier represents the kind of success that seemed impossible when she was filing papers and being dismissed as mere support staff. But determination and strategic thinking transformed her entire professional trajectory into something extraordinary that exceeded her wildest expectations. Her journey from humiliated employee to successful entrepreneur proves that sometimes our biggest setbacks become the foundation for our greatest achievements, especially when we refuse to accept other people's limitations on our capabilities and dreams. Sarah's continued success and growing influence in Chicago's business community demonstrate that authentic leadership, ethical business practices, and recognition of talent can create sustainable success that benefits everyone involved while proving that respect and empowerment produce better results than intimidation and credit-stealing behavior that characterizes toxic workplace environments.